Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. It's Dasi Lane, and we're reading Nectar of Devotion. Here with me are Bhaktiville, Bhakti Greece, and we have Kandita coming, so she should be here soon. So welcome, everyone. If you're listening to us streaming on Facebook, we do it every week. Bhaktiville is our tech guy, and he's awesome. So 2 weeks ago, we started reading chapter 6, How to Discharge Devotional Service in the Nectar of Devotion. And I did a little study looking at different translations of that section, the 64 angas, or the 64 limbs of devotional service. And I found it really interesting to compare and contrast the 3 different versions I was looking at. So with your permission, I went ahead and put those together, and that's what we're going to look at today. Last week we started we started and got through the first 10, and then we started on the next 10 and got to number 6. So that's where we'll start tonight. But let me read first. Let me read a couple of things first before I get started. Let me offer my obeisances first. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O Spiritual Master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries which are filled with voidism and impersonalism. I offer also my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord and those present here. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. And they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in chapter 6 of Nectar of Devotion, I want to just read this little section at the very beginning. Srila Prabhupada says, Kandita's messaging me. Oh, she's installing the new version of Second Life. So it should be a little while. So in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada says that Rupa Goswami has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed. Some of them are very important and prominent, and he will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Srila Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Exactly how one follows the instructions of his spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instructions of his spiritual master, and that instruction is different from the instructions of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of a spiritual master is good everywhere, although the details may be different. Srila Rupa Goswami does not wish to enter into details here, but he wants to place before us only the principles. So this is very important, this basic and details, very important. In fact, I just saw it posted, someone referenced this the other day on Facebook, and I was so delighted to see that. All right, so we got to number 3 of the second half. Oh, here she is, Haribo Kandita. So let me just review number 3. So the 3 columns in this chart, the first is what Srila Prabhupada wrote in Nectar of Devotion. The next column is from Srila Bon Maharaj in his translation of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And the third column is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, which is a drop of the Nectar of Devotion, written by Vishwanath Chakravarti, translated by Srila Narayan Maharaj. So that's the third column. And the third column is just the phrase. It's not an explanation. It's just a direct translation of the phrase from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. All right, so number 3. One should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. And I'll separate in my speech by saying, and then, so you'll know that I'm reading the next comment. And then, not being over-enthusiastic about pomp and grandeur. And then, renouncing excessive undertakings. It's quite a broad range of activities there. Number 4, one should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or by professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. And then, abandonment of double dealing or too much of love for arts and crafts, avoiding study of too many books, expositions, and too much of logically fallacious reasoning. And then, renouncing the study of many scriptures in order to make novel explanations and arguments. Again, a very broad range. Number 5, one should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. And then, giving up bad taste with dealing with others. And then, giving up miserly behavior. So looking at these things, it, for me, broadens the definition or the explanation of what Srila Prabhupada says. Everyone is in chat, everyone is greeting Kandita, and she says, hello and thank you. She says it's blissful being here. Thank you, Kandita. It's blissful to see you. Number 6. Oh, and Bhakti has something to say, but Prabhupada is more for out of time and place. It's easier for us to understand. Oh, for our time and place. Yes, got it, our time and place. It's easier to understand his translation. I agree. For myself, it's nice to see a broader expansion of the same concept. And he says he agrees, Bhakti agrees. So number 6, one should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or tribulation in gain, and then not being overwhelmed in distress and other ills of life, and then giving up lamentation, anger, etc. Excuse me. Number 7, one should not disrespect the demigods, and then avoiding disrespect for other gods, and then giving up blasphemy and disrespect of demigods. Number 8. Oh, could somebody forward the slides on the board for me, please? Thank you.
I did.
Number 8. One should not give up. Oh, and Bhakti says here in chat, notice that gods was not capitalized. Yes, gods is not capitalized because they're the demigods. They're the administrators. Only Krishna, God, is capitalized. Number 8, one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. And then refraining from harassing and causing worry to any being, and then giving up harassment of other living entities. Number 9, one should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshiping the deity in the temple. And then endeavoring with care and alertness to be free from the offenses of lapses in worshiping of the deities, Archivigraha, and chanting the name of the Lord during the rudimentary stage of the practice of sadhana bhakti while still under the fetters of bondage. And then giving up all offenses in regard to seva and nama. So seva is service and nama is name. 10. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his devotees. And then not tolerating any malice, slander, or calumny hurled at Lord Sri Krishna and his devotees. And then one should not tolerate blasphemy of Sri Guru, Krishna, or the devotees. So those were the second 10 in the exposition that's given in this chapter. So Prabhupada introduces the next section by saying, the next important items are as follows. And then, thus following, are stated forms of upasana or worship and service by the body, senses, and the whole of the mental quantum. And then, the following 44 limbs of bhakti are included within the 20 limbs already mentioned. They have been described as separate limbs in order to understand the subject matter elaborately. Items 1 through 31 are included within the Arjuna Marg, the path of regulated worship. Number 1, one should decorate the body with tilak, which is the sign of the Vaishnavas. The idea is that as soon as a person sees these marks on the body of the Vaishnava, he will immediately remember Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that a Vaishnava is he whom, when seen, reminds one of Krishna. Therefore, it is essential that Vaishnava mark his body with tilak to remind others of Krishna. And then, putting on the different signs of a Vaishnava, vis-a-vis Tulsi garland round the neck, tilak on the 12 upper limbs, etc. And then adopting the outward signs of a Vaishnava. Number 2, in marking with tilak, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body, and then putting on the letters of the name of Hari on the upper limbs of the body, and then to wear the letters of the Lord's holy name. Number 3, one should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on his body. And then accepting flowers, tulsi water, and other things offered to the deity of Vishnu. And then to accept the remnants of articles used by the deity. 4, one should learn to dance before the deity, and then dancing frantically before the Lord in the temple, and then dancing before the Lord. I like that, dancing frantically. Number 5, one should learn to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or the spiritual master, and then prostrating before the deities, and then prostrated obeisances. 6, as soon as one visits a temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up, and then standing up or rising from one's seat before the deities in the temple, also before Guru and superior devotees, and then rising from one's seat in honor of the Lord. It used to be like that when I was a kid that when a woman entered the room, all the men would stand up. So it's a similar kind of thing that when the guru enters the room, you should stand up and you should stand in front of the deity. 7. When the deity is born for a stroll in the street, a devotee should immediately follow the procession. And then, following the departing guru or any superior devotee to some distance as a mark of respect to him. And then, to follow behind the deity of the Lord. 8. A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. And then, walking up to the temples of the Lord, and then to visit the place where the deity is established. Number 9, one must circumambulate the temple building, at least 3 times, and then circumambulating his temple, and then circumambulation. 10, one should circumambulate the whole Vrindavan area, and there was no corresponding instruction from the following 2 texts. 11, one must worship the deity in the temple according to the regulative principles, offering arti, prasadam, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be observed regularly. And then offering archana, i.e., worship of the deities, the vigraha of the Lord in the temple, and then worship of the deity. Number 12, rendering personal service to the deities, and then offering various forms of services, such as cleansing, washing the floors of the temple, dressing and bathing the deities, cooking for the deities, etc. And then service to or attendance upon the Lord. 13, singing, and then singing the glories of the Lord in front of the temple, and then singing. 14, sankirtan, and then holding congregational prayers, and then congregational chanting of the Lord's holy name. 15, chanting, and then counting beads while silently, not aloud, chanting the name of Krishna, and then utterance of the holy name and mantras. 16. If you have questions about these things, feel free to ask.
May I say something?
16. Offering prayers, and then submitting one's inner feeling toward the Lord, and then recitation of songs or hymns in praise of the Lord. Yes, Candita, what would you like to say? Oh, my sound is off. Just a second.
Can you hear me?
Okay, please repeat.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Can you? Yeah, okay. Prabhupada said that actually, absolutely, I mean, unless we're sick, like something wrong with our vocal cords, we should be chanting aloud, not loudly, but counting our beads and verbalizing the chanting of the holy name.
Right.
I guess in different mats or different, sanghas, they just like to do silent, but that's what our Swami Prabhupada said for us. We should chant aloud.
I think this is, he meant to say loudly, not loudly, because the few before are loud, and this one is just not loudly. I don't think.
Because it says not allowed.
Does not mean silently.
Okay.
Or, I think.
Okay, not loudly.
Right. I think that's what he said. That just for your personal ears.
Right. Okay.
But thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Bhakti says there is a place in Chaitanya Charitamrita where he says you should move your lips a lot and loudly. Bhakti Mimilis's avatar is chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, great. He says he'll look for that reference. That'd be great. All right, 16. I read that. 17. Reciting notable prayers, and then reading prayers from the scriptures, and then submissive prayer or entreaty. 18. Tasting Mahaprasadam, food from the very plate offered from before the deities, and then honoring the eatables offered to the deities in the temple, and then honoring the remnants of food offered to the deity. 19. Drinking Chaitanya Charitamrita, water from bathing of the deities, which is offered to the guests. And then respectfully drinking the sacred water with which the feet of the deities have been washed, and then drinking the nectar used to wash the lotus feet of the Lord. Greece says in chat, I always joke that food is made of Krishna himself. It's true. It's true, though. Yes, it's his mercy, Bhaktiville says in chat. So it's his energy, he says. Okay, number 20. One must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity, and then, smelling the sweet scent of the flower garlands, incense, etc., offered to the deities, and then, smelling the fragrance of incense and flower garlands offered to the Lord. 21. One must touch the lotus feet of the deity, and then touching the Sri Murti, the deity, and then touching the deity of Bhagavan is also counted as a limb of bhakti. 22. One must see the deity with great devotion, and then looking at Sri Murti, and then one should daily take darshan of the deity of Bhagavan, either in the temple or in one's own home. 22. One must offer artik at different times, and then seeing or witnessing the offerings of lights, incense, water in conch shell, etc. to the deities in the temple, celebrating the events of the Lord and his devotees, and seeing the worship in the temple. And then one should take darshan of the arti offered to the deity of Bhagavan. I said the wrong number. Sorry. 24. One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, and similar books, and then listening to the name and glories of the Lord, and then hearing the descriptions of Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And then 25. One must pray to the deity for his mercy, and then looking for the Lord's grace or observing the grace of the Lord, and then anticipating the mercy of the Lord. 26. One should remember the deity, and then remembering the Lord, and then remembering Sri Krishna's name, nama, form, rupa, qualities, guna, and pastimes, lila. 27. One should meditate upon the deity, and then meditating upon the beauty, qualities, events, and sports of the Lord, and then meditation. 28. One should render some voluntary service, and then servanthood, and then servitude. 29. One should think of the Lord as his friend, and then friendship or friendly feeling for the Lord, and then friendship. 30. One should offer everything to the Lord, then absolute self-dedication to the Lord, and then dedication of the self. 31. One should offer a favorite article, as food or a garment, and then offering things which are dear to oneself, and then offering one's own dear objects. 32. I'm on 31. I just did 31. I did not remember that one, he says. That's a good one. 32. One should take all kinds of risks for Krishna's benefit, and then all endeavors for the sake of the delight of Sri Krishna, and then performing all activities for the sake of Krishna. 33. In every condition, be a surrendered soul, and then self-surrender in every respect, and then full self-surrender. 34. Pour water on the Tulsi tree, and then serving those that are associated with him, such as serving the Lord's Tulsi, and then serving Tulsi. 35. Excuse me. Regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature, and then serving the Shastra, scripture, and then serving Vaishnava scriptures. 36. Live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka, and then serving Mathura, and then residing within the district of Mathura. 37. Offer service to Vaishnava devotees, and then serving Vaishnavas, also Yamuna, and then serving of Vaishnavas. 38. Arrange your devotional service according to your means, and then observing such celebrations as Doli Yatra, the swinging festival of Lord Sri Krishna, in the company of sadhus, by collecting the necessary ingredients according to one's ability, and then celebration of festivals related to the Lord in accordance with one's ability. 39. In the month of Kartik, October, November, make arrangements for special services, and then observing Niyam Seva, special vows for 1 month with rigid regulations, and then observing the vow of Kartik or Damodar Vrat. 40. During Janmashtami, which is coming up soon, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, observe a special service, and then special respect for the Advent day of the Lord by way of observing fast, etc., and then to chant the holy name at all times to celebrate Janmashtami and other festivals. 41. Do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity, liking with special interest for worshipping the feet, I spelled feet wrong, of the Srimurti deity in the temple, and then serving the deity with faith. 42. Relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading amongst devotees and not amongst outsiders, and then tasting the nectar of the esoteric meaning of the Bhagavatam in the company of Bhava and Prema Bhaktas, and then tasting the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of Rasika Vaishnavas. 43. Associate with devotees who are considered more advanced, and then keeping the association of such superior sadhus who are of similar temperament and taste and are affectionate, and then association of like-minded, affectionate, advanced devotees. 44, live in the jurisdiction of Mathura, and then living in Mathura Mandala, and then residing in Sri Vrindavan. We've said some of them are repeated, it's true, but there's an explanation. So there were some that didn't correspond with the Nectar of Devotion, and these are those there at the end. So from Bon Maharaj, sing in the name of the Lord in the company of many devotees, and then loud congregational chanting of the holy name. So Bon Maharaj has this explanation. Though the last 5 were previously mentioned, yet they have been restated here just to establish greater importance. All these 64 forms show the different distinctive features of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, both separately of submission to the Guru, etc., and also collectively of worship in the temple and singing, etc. We talk about number 33. Number 33 is be a surrendered soul in every condition. Yes. Yes. No, it's essential. So that's the end of this chapter, and I hope that that's been informative. Finding devotees you get along with, yes, absolutely. That's important because that's what bolsters and supports your devotional service. And Bhakti Greece says that 3s are good numbers, good cards in tarot. So yes, we need to be around people who are of the same ilk to support our devotional service. So thank you again for letting me present this. It was helpful for me to go through them, and I really appreciated your comments. Thank you so much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Don't forget,
Krishna.
Tuesday we have Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna's appearance day is coming up next week. Is it the 17th? Anyone know offhand which day his birthday is? Turn the sound back up. It's the 18th. I think check your local calendar, Ice, because on my calendar, my local calendar says the 17th. So check your local calendar. All right, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. See you all on Thursday. Is it the 18th? No, it's not the 18th everywhere. So check what your local temple, what day they're celebrating. All right? Yeah. All right. Take care, my friends. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.